And here we can put it into practice. So I love this little meme here. It says an anxiously attached people trying to figure out why someone isn't texting back. Okay, so looking at that, let's unpack this together. So the trigger is someone not texting back, okay? And that brings to the surface an abandonment or rejection wound. And this might send us into a flight response. Okay, so we start thinking obsessively. We need that person to respond back to us in order to regulate. Yes, we're in this activated, heightened state. And we're feeling super restless. In the body, we notice anxiety. So there's tightness in the chest, rapid breathing. Then we start noticing the mind. So we're engaging in obsessive thinking, and we start noticing the thinking errors. So I did something wrong. They will abandon me. I'm not good enough. Right? So limiting beliefs and thinking errors coming up. And then if we notice our heart, maybe it's actually closed because we're like, oh, I'm going to be abandoned. It's not safe. And then we armor up. And then noticing our actions, we might be texting back repeatedly, trying to regain connection. So engaging in activating strategies or protest behaviors. So when this happens, if we zoom out and we start looking at all these different levels of mind, body, and heart, we can also get, let's say, signs of like what we can address in order to come back to a state of regulation. And so firstly, it's having awareness around the trigger. Okay, someone not texting me back is triggering this abandonment wound. Then number two would be starting to do the work to heal this abandonment wound and reparent your inner child. So we're going to talk about this tomorrow. And then starting to regulate, to learn how to regulate your emotions by yourself using some of the tools we discussed today. Then turning around the thinking errors. So instead of saying, you know, I'm not good enough, they're going to abandon me. This is the end of the relationship, right? Catastrophizing. It could be something like, they're probably busy. Their responsiveness means nothing about my self-worth. Everything's going to be okay either way. Then breathing into your heart. So if you notice that your heart is contracted, it's fearful, breathing into your heart center, reminding your inner child that he or she is safe. And then trying to refrain from these activating strategies. So instead of, you know, calling your partner 10 times, sitting with the discomfort. So like I mentioned before with the body scan, accepting the emotions, feeling it, moving the emotions through your body. And then maybe choosing to call a friend instead, or someone who has shown consistency in order to get that support, right? And then at the end, potentially setting a boundary and asking for what you need. So if this is in a committed relationship, you can tell your partner, hey, you know, if you disappear for a couple of hours, this creates a lot of anxiety for me due to my anxious attachment. Would it be okay if you could just, you know, validate the fact that you've seen my message? And even if you're busy, just send me a heart emoji, or just let me know that you've seen it. Or when you do see it, can you just reply the soon as possible? That would help me feel way safer in my body and in this relationship. So just really being honest about what you need and trying to release any shame or guilt around that. And knowing that, you know, this is due to childhood wounding and it doesn't make you broken, weak, or needy or clingy. And if you're currently trying to navigate a dynamic between anxious and avoidant, if you're in a relationship with someone with an avoidant attachment style, you need to communicate about all of these things and tell them what your needs are and try and meet in the middle. Because if they have a need for space and you have a need for connection, you have to see how you can meet in the middle. Maybe that looks like, okay, him just sending you an emoji that he's seen the message and that helps you calm down. But that's something that you have to investigate together. And so looking at all this, it's a combination of trauma healing, mindset work, somatic work. So really getting in tune with your body, getting to know yourself, who you are, what your needs are, how you feel. And then just training yourself to sit with the discomfort. So training, as we say, the discomfort and tolerance muscle. And instead of immediately going to message, sitting with the discomfort, breathing through it, and then messaging a friend. Right. So these are all pieces of the puzzle that will be really, really useful in healing anxious attachment